Now, let us briefly address this part number 2 of your Sprechen, that is the A1 Sprechen Teil 2. Now, what I would like us to specifically address here is the issue regarding the Thema. Now, first things first, remember this part number 2 is going to be on Fragen stellen. Fragen stellen, asking questions, right? Now, the reason as to why I'm making this video is to specifically address on the point of Thema. Now, most of us normally confuse when you're given the following word, yeah? So naturally, they normally give you like this, Thema, right? Now remember, Thema is the beam. They will first of all give you Thema. After they've given you Thema is when they proceed to give you the word. So let me assume my Thema was Wochenende, all right? So let's assume this was our Thema. Wochenende. Wochenende. Like that, right? And then, let's say the word that we were given here was Freunde. So this is the word that we've been given. Now, our Thema is Wochenende, and then the word that we've been given specifically is Freunde. Now, what I mentioned in the previous or some of the previous videos is that when you're now forming question, this is the word that needs to appear in your question. Now, of course, you could choose to use literally the Thema, literally, or you could replace it. Like, for example, I know Wochenende is simply weekend, right? So one can either use the Thema weekend, or you could also use Saturday or Sunday, which are all still in reference to the weekend. Okay, let's now give some examples. The first one you could ask is, was, so look at this one, was machen Sie oft, was machen Sie oft am Wochenende? Was machen Sie oft am Wochenende? And then I could add mit Freunden. Was machen Sie oft am Wochenende mit Freunden? What do you often do with friends on the weekend? What do you often do with friends on the weekend? Now you can see in this case I've chosen to specifically use the Thema directly, word for word, Wochenende. So what do you often do with friends on the weekend? All right, and then of course you could answer with the wir gehen oft ins Kino, right? We often go to the cinema, or wir spielen oft Fußball. Okay. Now it's also possible to decide to ask a question without using this one literally, Wochenende. That is now where the point comes in, that you don't have to use the Thema literally. One can decide to replace this Wochenende right here. Let me just replace that. So instead of saying literally, was machen Sie oft am Wochenende? Now I could choose to use a different wording like, was machen Sie oft am? Was machen Sie oft am Samstag? Was machen Sie oft am Samstag? Or so you could say on Saturday or Saturdays. Let's use that. So, was machen Sie oft samstags? Was machen Sie oft samstags? Was machen Sie oft samstags? Mit Freunden. Was machen Sie oft samstags mit Freunden? So, what do you often do with friends on Saturdays? Now, in this second question that I've just formed, you can see I haven't used this directly, Wochenende. Instead, I've replaced it with another word, which is Saturdays, which is also in reference to weekend. Okay? So, my point here is this, that when you'll be forming these questions, you don't have to use the Thema literally, as in word for word. You could use a different wording as long as it's in the context of that word. So in this case, I could use Saturday, I could use Sunday, or I could use the Wochenende. All right, that is still okay. All right, so that is my point here. that when you'll be forming these questions, you don't have to use the Thema literally. Sometimes you might find even your Thema theme that you've been given is Sport, for example, right? Sport. Now, you don't have to use, okay, let's just copy that one down. Let me just write that one down for clarity. Yeah? So let me assume here again that I've been given the Thema Sport. Now, the Thema that has been given here is Sport. And then the word that you've been given here to use is Fußball, right? They've given you the word Fußball, football. Now, when I'll be forming the question again, I don't have to use Sport in my question. The main thing that needs to appear is Fußball. So I could ask you, when do you play football? I don't have to say, when do you play football as a sport? You could simply say, wann, that is, wann spielen Sie, wann spielen Sie Fußball? So, when do you play football? Wann spielen Sie Fußball? When do you play football? Now, you can see in this second example, I have formed the question without necessarily using the Thema Sport in it. Like, wann spielen Sie Fußball als Sport? No. Because this one, automatically, we know it's in the, when I form a question like this, we know automatically it's in the context of sport. So the Thema is simply going to be your, like, theme. You don't need to use it directly in this question, yeah? Theme or the context, all right? So kindly take note of that as you continue in forming questions in part number 2, all right?